Future Commerce is brought to you by Vertex. Vertex Cloud is for businesses of all sizes, from small and medium-sized businesses all the way to enterprise. You can find out how Vertex can help your business by visiting them online at vertexcloud.com/futurecommerce.
Welcome to Future Commerce, everyone.
Yeah, welcome. And how do you even start a show on the week that Jeff Bezos steps down or announces that he's stepping down? How do you start that show, Brian?
Man. I mean, we did.
We just did.
We just started it. You know, the world spins on, and Jeff will have a lot of input and control, and I don't think he's going to extract himself so easily. I don't think Jeff just says, I quit, and then he's done.
It was, I don't know if it was the day. It's funny because how many people knew who Tim Cook was when Steve left day-to-day?
Tim Apple?
Right. Tim Apple, exactly. Tim Apple. How many people, Tim Cook was not a household name at that point, and is Andy Jassy. Andy's got to be celebrating something, because when you type AN into Google today, Andy Jassy autocompletes.
Beat out the word and. He beat out the word and.
He beats out the word and. He beats out a lot of things that start with AN. Anderson Cooper. Mark Andreessen. I don't know. The only two names that came to mind in that order were Anderson Cooper and Mark Andreessen. Anyway, big news. We wrote a piece about it. If you want to check it out, this is going to be done to death this week. But if you're looking for a slightly different take, hey, Brian and I put together a piece called This is the Changing of the Guard, but is it also the signal of the end of the innovation age of the internet? Or
at least of e-commerce. At least of e-commerce. I mean, the internet's
the internet is effectively everything now. So, but it's the end of the innovation age of digital commerce. There isn't much left to innovate in digital commerce as far as we understand it in the internet. Now, you look at what Mark Lowry, I guess now ex-Walmart, the diaper guy.
The new city.
Yeah. He's going to go innovate and build new connected cities. He's going to reinvent cities. That's his new job. So the real world,
not cities. He's just going to reinvent
just a city. A city. He's going to take the best of every city and he's going to put it in one place. It's not called Epcot. So while Mark Lowry is reinventing a city and creating, with first principles thinking, Jeff Bezos is trying to take off to go to a different planet with Blue Origin. And pretty soon, we'll be an interstellar species thanks to the titans of e-commerce. But we're not going to go too deep into that. If you want to check that out.
Wait.
What?
Wait,
what?
We're not.
I'm trying to close this section out.
But I don't want to. You're closing it. I don't want to close it quite yet.
Go read the article, Brian, that we wrote.
I want to talk about Mark Lowry for a little bit longer.
Do you really? I thought you had a whole anti-piece about the city of the future, and it's time to build.
That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about my response to Mark Andreessen's. Speaking of
it's
him,
time to build. Are you just write the piece? And
I already wrote the piece. It's out there. We just didn't put it on Insiders. We put it somewhere else, and I feel like it applies almost word for word for Mark Lowry.
What's the gist? The gist
is that if we're going to be doing this in America, then why not take stock of what America actually has for its resources? We talk about, cars in the sky. We talk about, the perfect system where you have all the culture of New York and the perfect efficiency of Singapore in one place. And it's this sort of utopian idea. And my take is, if we can't do things small first, then how are we going to do them in a big way? So we have an incredible network of smaller cities throughout.
You have to start with a very small. You have to start small. That's what you're saying.
Start small and work your way up. How did Jeff build Amazon? He started by selling books online.
How
Right.
did Mark Lowry, acquire bonobos? He, sold a diaper via
Right.
the internet.
Right. Exactly. And then he applied that thinking to a lot more stuff. And I feel like we have people.
Well, he's
and
going to
towns
build a city.
and
He has to start with a house first, right? Or a fire station. I don't know. What do you start with in Civ 5? Did you ever play those games? Did you
Man,
ever play real-time strategy games?
First of all, Civ is not a real-time strategy game. And second of all, yes, I did.
I was going broader. It's in the genre of RTS?
No, it's turn-based, 100% turn-based. It's the opposite of RTS. It's like
turn-based.
Yeah. And I know
I've
this
been
because I
schooled
actually
so many times this week.
I bought Civilization for my kids, and they love it. I blew my mind. Like it's way slower than anything else they play on the Nintendo. And
it's so fun. Our producer, Chris Harry, who's probably listening to this right now, shout out Chris, producing podcasts with me now for like 7 years.
Yeah.
I think his wife is a big Civ head and like has an emulator on her laptop just to play Civ.
So cool.
Yeah. I was not big into Civ, but the point that I was trying to make is how do you get to a city?
Man, you got to build a lot of stuff first.
You got to build a lot of stuff first.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. And also, I think that there's so much more. Go read the article. It's on our website. I think it's under our opinion section or something like that.
We'll link it up in the show notes.
Yeah.
Kristen, it's in the opinion section. We'll link it in the show notes. All right. Brian's a hater. When did you become a hater? I used to be the hater.
We switch places. It's there. You can actually, if you've listened to this show, you go back and you listen to all 4.5, almost 5 years now of this show.
200 plus episodes.
Oh man, are we at 200 plus?
Well, this is 193.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Almost.
But if you count all the bonuses
episodes,
and step by steps, if you count it all, the entire oeuvre of the future commerce multiverse, then yes, it's over 200 episodes.
There you go. So go back and listen to over 200 episodes. You can actually catch the arc where I think we switch places.
Think about a point in time where that might have been. What caused that?
18 months ago. Yeah. I don't know. It was pre-pandemic, so it wasn't the pandemic. But I don't know. It's been a crazy world. Yeah. Moving on. Actually, why don't we get back to what we were recreating? We were going to recreate a moment.
We were going to recreate a pre-show moment. There was something that came across I have to bring something up. So I subscribe to Lean Lux. And I don't open every single. This is why I'm not allowed in the Slack, by the way. I'm totally not bitter. My open rate's got to be terrible. Because I get too many newsletters. I had to go back and re-enable. Re-enable in my Gmail settings the promotions tab. I must get probably 20 newsletters a day.
It's an addiction. You read a lot and you don't even read everything that comes in. So
it's insanity. So I put it out on Twitter. I was like, what we need is Emily Singer had shout out. I do read every single issue of Emily Singer's newsletter, her Substack. Chips and Dips. That's right. The name was escaping me. It's late right now.
For you.
For you. I read every issue of that, but I don't catch every single issue of Lean Lux. And I queue these things. There are some that are just so good. I want to read them, but they just queue in my inbox for like a month before I get around to it. And she was saying like there needs to be some kind of like bundled delivery service that brings the morning paper to you and a warm pastry. Like I would totally pay for that. And I jumped in and I was like, I need that exact thing, but on Sunday. But print out all of the newsletters that I have queued in my inbox.
And the warm pastry.
And the warm pastry. Nespresso, but make it pastry. That's what I need. And she was like, you could do this with if this, then that. So I've been like trying to make it happen. This is basically impossible. Google Cloud Print apparently would have been the way to do it with Zapier, but it's been discontinued.
Yeah, what was that all about? Why did
I
that
don't
happen?
know. I have no idea. I mean, Google likes to kill things that make life easy. I mean, RIP Google Reader, anyway, whatever.
It's like the things that no one uses that Google just like they hang on to those things forever. And
they put all their energy into shoving Google Meet into literally every facet of your existence. It's
right, exactly. Like everything that no one uses, they just hang on and push. And then all the things that they put out there that were all like, oh, Google never discontinue this, and then it's just gone.
So the point being, I have a terrible open rate for Lean Lux, but because of reasons. And but I did open this recent one. It came in today, actually. And there was the headline article that popped out to me was a Monocle put out a manifesto called the Digital Decency Manifesto, which is effectively a much better take and more expertly written take of what we call a phenomenon that we called late stage retail about a year and a half ago. And we had toyed with the idea of like, how would we put together almost like a consumer's bill of rights or an online shopper bill of rights? And I did, even after 9x9, it felt like folks didn't really grok what we were trying to say. And that was
the
okay.
late stage retail term, it just wasn't the right way to put it. I think the
problem is like late stage capitalism doesn't bridge into retail. Like many people have not heard of late capitalism or late stage capitalism. They just hadn't heard that term before. So making the leap to retail. And also this is broader than retail. I mean, digital decency, I think, is a really catchy. First of all, it's alliterative. So you freaking love that. I'm sure.
I do. I'm in.
Yeah. Brian, your name isn't alliterative, but it should be. Brian Blang, the bad boy Brian Blang.
That's my name.
He loves him some alliteration. Anyway, Digital Decency Manifesto. Go check that out. But there was another link in this particular newsletter that really jumped out at you. And I was like, it was like sort of dubious, like how this relates to future commerce, but we're going to tie it in.
No,
we're
it absolutely does. It absolutely
Tell me
does.
why.
Yeah. So, okay. So the thing in the we haven't talked about Lean Lux too much on this show before, but the grab bag, or he might have renamed it the Culture Pulse or something like that, or I don't know what he's calling this section in the newsletter anymore, but there's always like this hidden gem of a link in there. And the
links, he has like this link soup, which is soup, exactly. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. He curates a pretty good, like a pretty broad selection of stuff, which is pretty cool. But anyway, the thing that just jumped out at me, like well beyond anything else in this newsletter, like it screamed in my face, was bespoke documentaries are the new status symbol. And this is an article in Airmail about how me documentaries are the new status symbol. Who wants to read a family history? The rich are hiring directors to tell their stories. And there's so many things about this that just like they disgust me and resonate with me in every way possible, because there's something actually really alluring about this. Like having someone tell the story of your life in like a dramatic documentary style would be really interesting, and of your family, because we all have stories and we all have things that we would like to relate to people about ourselves. And I started thinking about it and I was like, wait a minute, Facebook was basically the beginning of this. It's like us documenting our lives in a deeper way, in a way that, everyone could do it. And it was like this documentation that we could share. And what's interesting about Facebook, at least a while back, was it was beyond just about sharing with other people. Like Instagram, I feel like it's just push. But there was something about it that was for yourself. Like you it was about documenting you for you. And I think there's something really, really narcissistic about this. But also,
You think?
I'm really
what makes you say
compelled
that,
by it.
Brian?
Also,
You
really
kind of want to do it.
Like, I kind of want to do it. I kind of want to go tell the story of my family. One of the ideas that my cousin works for Netflix, and there's this one idea. I think I've only told it to her once, but I've told it to her in my head many times. And there was this idea for my family to do like a mockumentary style family like show about my family that contained all the people in my family, their real selves, where they all kind of leaned in on their personalities, but the storyline was fictional. And so it would be about these crazy situations and things that happen in my family, but it would be like a reality TV, in that it would all be real interactions, and a lot of the actual footage would happen just in my real life. And I thought that would be like hilarious because there's a lot of characters in my family, and all of my family would agree with that. And so, I just like this whole idea of documenting ourselves. I think it resonates with us at a deeper level than we even know. And I expect that we're all headed towards having our own documentaries at some point.
But okay, so let me poke at this for a second. First of all, I think it's kind of cool. But there are services out there that do this. While you were talking, I was listening, but I was multitasking. I was like trying to find the service that exists that does this. This exists. Like,
yeah, no, totally.
There was
That's what this article's about. It totally exists.
No, it's like I'm hiring a Hollywood director is one thing, but
sure.
There is a version of what you might hear from. There's a Friday segment on Morning Edition on NPR that goes to public archives. I forget the name of it right now. It's too late for me to be recording a podcast. I'm sorry, Brian. I cannot think about. Nothing is coming back to mind. People are screaming at their headphones right now because StoryCorps. It's called StoryCorps. Crying out loud. And StoryCorps has these kiosks set up where you can come and tell your story with your family member who has something really interesting to share. And someone created a tech service that does this, that sends story prompts to a loved one, presumably a family member who's older, maybe your mom or your dad or your grandparents, to capture and get them to like jog their memory once a week. They over the course of a year or longer, then they compile a book that like helps them to tell their story and prompt them to tell stories that they might otherwise have forgotten or would have been lost. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. I want to pull at this thread of narcissism because I really love this thing that you're drawing out. Which is more narcissistic? To hire a creative to memorialize your story, or for you to sit down at a keyboard for 2 years and write your own memoir?
It's just like the lesser of two evils joke. Like
I think that anyone who sits down to write a memoir of their own accord has a thread of narcissism. There's something going on.
Isn't that what we're all doing though right now? Like by
you're talking to the guy who's been podcasting for 7 years, who thinks he's so important that people must listen to what he says. So I'm the wrong
here's
person
how this
to ask.
ties into everything we've been talking about. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, but
it's the attention economy and the creator economy that have come together at a perfect moment in time where people have too much money, right?
And have been looking at themselves in the Zoom camera for 18 months or whatever it is.
For a year now, they've been staring at themselves. They're fascinated with themselves.
I've lost track of how long this has gone on.
It feels like 18. It feels longer than 18 months. Yes. January alone of 2021 was 18 months.
I had to estimate how long it was because I really don't know.
You don't even know. It was a good guesstimate, Brian.
Thank you. Yes. Anyway, that's it. Like this is the moment of peak narcissism. This is it. Like
this is the moment. I don't know. I could get so much worse from here. But this is definitely this is a waypoint. This is a signpost along the way.
Oh boy. You know what? You're probably right. This is not peak narcissism. We're going to have our, our deceased like people that we talk with at some today.
We went through this. I would love to necro this topic for people who haven't listened to the show that are like 3+ years ago. But there was a story ages ago, which I'm not even going to try to go find. But there was a story ages ago of a computer engineer whose father had passed away, and he took every text message and like AIM chat and, every written communication that he had ever had with his father. And he trained an AI chatbot to respond as his dad as a means of coping with the death. And I thought that this was just such an interesting phenomena of it's on one hand, it's this really interesting way to cope with loss. On another hand, it's sort of interesting that we don't like, if you have certain means and certain skills, you never have to cope with loss. You don't have to cope, right? You can create whatever world you want to live in where your father's still alive and whatever news you want is, true despite all the odds, and despite every other, verifiable fact. Like we live the post-truth society.
That's the ultimate alternate facts and data. Like it's
like you effectively you can memorialize someone in such a way that this even death itself can be post-truth. Anyway, we had a whole thing about that a few years ago, and I thought that was really interesting. And then we got distracted with deepfakes. But what a time to be alive! Future Commerce is brought to you by Vertex. Vertex Cloud is the automation platform for tax calculation and use tax and everything in between for businesses of all sizes. From SMB all the way to enterprise, businesses all over the world trust Vertex for their tax calculation needs, and you should too. Check them out today at vertexcloud.com/futurecommerce. There's such an interesting, this is a really weird and meandering show, but I'm loving it right now. And so let's just keep on. If you want to hear more about a couple of these themes, we would be remiss to not. You heard about it in the cold open, in the pre-roll bumper, I guess is what they call it in the trade. I say that like I don't know. And we have a new report that just came out. It's called Vision, and there's a few of these topics that I think are really that aren't tangential. They're actually it's right on the nose. We actually talk about digital dysmorphia and the Selfie Industrial Complex, and that ties right into this phenomena that we've been talking about here. If you want to read more about that and many other topics, we have 10 trends, 10 things that you need to know that we think will shape themes that are recurrent, that will shape the future as we know it of retail and everything else that we interact with. And you can find that at futurecommerce.fm/vision. And go download it. And I would love to hear what people think about it. People have been collectively sharing how their minds are all blown.
Oh, yes.
Which is cool. I love seeing emoji versions of people's minds exploding when they read our reports. It's pretty awesome. So futurecommerce.fm/vision, and we will have an entire deep dive on this, a 90-minute digital deep dive with some friends. Stay tuned. We're gonna have a big family get together, Future Commerce family meeting, where we're going to talk about all of these topics in depth. And so keep an eye out. And if you want to be notified of when that lands and when that's going to happen, so you can be the first to register, because we do have limited space for that engagement, you can get that by signing up for our newsletter. Go get it at futurecommerce.fm/subscribe. Okay, all that stuff aside.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who needs a memoir when you can just plug your newsletter? Actually, you know what's funny is like it's the same thing.
We're getting meta now. We're getting meta.
Yeah, we're complaining about things that we ourselves do every day. There, we haven't covered GameStop on this show. I think we'd be remiss if we hadn't mentioned GameStop. So there it is. There's your SEO point for everybody. Did you buy any GameStop, Brian?
No, man. I
didn't either.
I bought the S&P 500. That's the kind of guy I am.
Oh, good for you. You're an index fund guy. I like it. I like it. Get the SPY. Have you changed brokerages since this whole thing happened? Did you abandon Robinhood?
Oh, I never was on Robinhood. Dude, I'm such a that's bad. I'm on JP Morgan.
Okay. No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I'm just doing the normal thing, It is what it is. I haven't gotten crazy with my investing strategies. That's what I'm getting at.
He says JP Morgan. He's like, I'm Chase private client, so I just let someone else worry about all this stuff. It's fine. Who can?
What about you? What about you? You tell me.
No, I actually after the Robinhood fiasco, I still have money in the Robinhood account. It takes a long time for stuff to settle out, by the way. It takes a long time for funds to settle and get it out of your brokerage.
With JP Morgan.
TD Ameritrade has go to JP Morgan with our code Future Commerce.
That's not real.
That's not real. But I did sign up for Thinkorswim, which is TD Ameritrade's free trading platform. Nice. It has this really like nerdy graph, capability and a desktop app, which was pretty cool.
Desktop app. Ooh.
Me a desktop app.
Desktop's the new hotness. That's all I'm saying.
It kind of, what's interesting? There are a lot of analytics reports that show that desktop is the new cool, because people spend so much time on desktop computers now at their home because they're working from home.
You know what they're doing? They're either, a lot of people are doing screening, but there are also a lot of people out there that are looking at things in a compressed window view as they side by side stuff that they're working on.
Oh yeah, the screens are so big. How could you not?
And so
I have a window manager on my Mac. I have keyboard shortcuts to move that junk around, dude.
Exactly. They're
I've got all 4 quadrants of my screen. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, like that's what the best of us do, and the thing about it is we're all looking at it in some like tablet broken up, like it's like a tablet broken view, which is funny because most websites are optimized for like phones and desktop, but tablet always
half
like
desktop. It's half desktop.
Exactly, half desktop, which is like the worst experience ever on the web.
It's basically the iPad experience.
Exactly.
It's kind of what you get. Or it's like the top 2/3 of the iPad
It's like in between the Kindle and the iPad experience. And so you get like this weird breakpoint and, everyone's browsing the web in the least optimized.
Did you say Kindle? Who is optimizing for Kindle?
Nobody. That's my point. Like, it's like
this is the ex-Amazonian in you coming out at the moment.
Yeah, that's probably true. My Fires are almost all in the trash. That's true.
My kids have Fire tabs. That's about it.
My kids have them, but they don't use them anymore. It's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like sad. They're like outgrowing it, I think, maybe.
They're all about the desktop. So
there's something about Amazon free time. Let's taking a little side jaunt here, but the idea of like all you can eat apps and, like the management bundle? For it's so good.
It's bundling. We're back to bundling.
That's it. The whole world is bundling and unbundling. That's it. I was told by the Lion King that the circle of life was how, it was it was a beautiful song, but it was death in life. And how, it's this beautiful reinforcement of everything from the food chain to ecology and conservation. In reality, it's just how internet giants, grow and then break apart and then recoalesce. That's actually what it is. The Circle of Life. Hey, we found a show title, The Circle of Life. That's it.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
We did it.
Yeah, except for we're kind of breaking that circle with the post-mortem people. trying to break that circle.
The broken circle of life.
The broken circle. Now that is a show title.
Yeah. So, okay, did we close the loop on GameStop?
No,
I
really.
signed up for TD
really
Ameritrade.
Just keyword stuff. That's all we did. We didn't actually talk about it. Where is GameStop right now, as of this moment? Like
it was at $100 the last I checked, which was earlier today, which is down off its high of 480 or something. I'm the last person that should be talking about this. I have no idea. I will say it's such an interesting thing and such a nerdy concept that could be part of the cultural zeitgeist, like that people know something is happening with this retail chain that sells video games and that people are quote unquote making money on it in the stock market. And I find that to be such an interesting, like when you look at the nostalgia stocks that were also being gamed
AMC.
or attempted at the shorts. Yeah, AMC Theaters was one. BlackBerry was another. Nokia was another. And they, these are interesting companies of a bygone era, who they in and of themselves had some mark on the culture. I mean, AMC certainly still could have been considered relevant in a pre-pandemic world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's something about them that has worked its way into our psyches, like the lasting power of brands. But I think it's probably more than that. I feel like this actually relates back to some of the things we talked about in Vision, like this idea of brands as performance art. Almost, it wasn't the brands themselves that were doing it, but they became the performance art because we made them so. Like it's this constant idea of irony having a real impact in our world. I think this is it. I mean,
is it irony or is it cynicism? Is it
both? Yeah, both. I think the irony stems from cynicism, and I actually Retail Touchpoints just quoted me on that. This
nice little drop there, Brian. You drop this name, I'll pick it up for you.
I did. So I think what's really, really interesting about this is we've just gone through a period of 18
Bad
months.
boy Brian Bling, quoted in Retail Touchpoints. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
It's this weird moment. It's not a weird moment. It's kind of it's a very sad moment in our history where we were already a cynical culture. We are already a cynical culture. If you look at the way that we look at humor and the way that we look at a lot of things, relationships and we even have states whose motto is the show me state. We're cynical, right? That's in our DNA. And then you put us through 12 months of of death and isolation.
Yeah, the crucible, right? Yeah.
We are probably, I'm not going to say at peak cynical, because I was totally wrong about that with peak narcissism.
It can get worse. It can get worse.
But we are in a state of deep cynicism and depression at this moment as a country.
I believe that to be the case. Absolutely. Absolutely, that is the case. We're not reconciling with, or we're not reckoning with, the actual issues and the problems, and we keep, that's at some point that has to, at some point in history, maybe some future generation, somebody's going to have to. There's a day of reckoning. We're going to have to figure it.
And I wonder
figure that out.
You said earlier actually resonated, where we are trying to create systems by which we don't have to reckon with things, like the computer programmer.
Oh yeah, quantitative easing forever. I like. There's all kind. It's quantitative easing, but for the soul.
Exactly.
There's a great show title.
Yeah. And so I think this is all pushing us towards these ironic moments, and having AMC and GameStop of all the stocks in the world to be the ones to sort of put put our money on it. So it is rebellion. It's cynical rebellion. It's ironic rebellion, and actually, in many ways, this might have a bigger effect on our culture than even Occupy Wall Street. It's more like, this is the new Occupy Wall Street is what it is.
I'll deal out a little cynicism. And by the way, this is an important moment for retail, because so much of retail is imperiled due to the pandemic. And I don't just me. I'm gesturing broadly. You can't see me. This whole situation that we're all in. There's such an interesting and sad fallout here, which is there are real people who have real jobs, who work at these real places, who are caught in the middle, and I think we tend to forget that there are people who actually depend on these places to stay in business, and there's real livelihood at stake. While some people probably fret over how automation and technical innovation, cause issues in the job market, or have a future threat in the job market, we're actually watching that sort of take place in the digital shift during the pandemic. I think we're seeing that accelerated right before our very eyes, where a lot of retail is being consolidated into the some more powerful hands, and these and the world has changed dramatically too. I mean, GameStop has had its own troubles. A business that existed as much to sell and be a retailer of new products, but also used products in a world that's going increasingly digital and subscription based. You look at what Xbox Game Pass does, and you can play literally any game you want for a low monthly price. You don't need physical media anymore, and a business that depended on the resale of used discarded items in no small way. The writing was on the wall. What's really interesting is just how much of this is really just consumer brands. These aren't tech giants,
right?
I mean, or maybe they're legacy tech businesses, but Nokia and BlackBerry and GameStop, they are consumer brands or retail outfits. Bed Bath and Beyond was another that it became a sort of a meme stock. These are places where retail happens. Like this is this place where the exchange of goods happens, where people go and buy things. I think that is something that we should all be taking note of here. Because if those places go away, and they probably will at some point in time, if those places go away, is anyone mourning the loss of a Bed Bath and Beyond? Like, you're going to find your soap dispenser somewhere else.
Right.
But that somewhere else is likely to be Amazon.
I think this is such a good point. And actually, it's something you brought up in the article on Jeff Bezos, which is
the changing of the guard that we mentioned at the top.
Right. This consolidation, this oligarchy or oligopoly of brands.
Kind of both, yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe we talked about this as we were putting it together, as opposed to actually putting in the article. No, I'm actually it was late.
I think it's in there. Yeah, we were kind of hashing ideas back and forth. It's the maintainers come in, and they Tim Cook grew Apple to be a $2 trillion company.
Exactly. And actually, you put that up against, a period where we've seen so many businesses go under due to COVID. A lot of small businesses, they were the ones that were hit the hardest.
Let's flip the script. I'm kind of feeling the weight of, we were just talking about cynicism, and this does feel like a sort of dark thing. At the same time, we have never seen a period of entrepreneurship like the one that we have just lived through.
Well, that
At the
we're
same,
going into right now.
and that's and that is something that we talk about in another theme in Vision, which is the K-shaped economy, is really the DIY economy and maybe the creator-led recovery. And I think that there's a moment here where the next Amazon, the next Google, the next Apple, 20, 30 years from now is born during this time, because I think
So good. Yeah.
out of hardship is when that's when real real grit is formed. That's where real determination is created, and that's where real innovation happens, is in times of adversity. And we've never had more tools at our disposal. You can launch a brand from your couch. You can go on Alibaba right now. You can find a you can find a supplier in China. You can get on WhatsApp or WeChat and text them. I know you can do this because I've done it. And you can launch a Shopify store and launch a bunch of Instagram ads, and bang, you're up and running. You may not be ultra successful,
right,
yet, but you can do that today, and that was not possible even just 10 years ago.
Yes, that is such a great place to take this. I think that that is the truth. Like, I believe that that's sort of the positive side of the K-shaped recovery, and I don't want to diminish the negative sides of it. We've already kind of dove into some of that here, but the positive side is that there's a lot of people right now that are ready to get out there and get after it. And I agree with you. I think we're going to see some big stuff come out. In fact, this gets back to what we talked about in Retail Rebirth, back the report we put out with Gladly back in late July. We talked about how in 30-year cycles, we've seen similar things happen, back in the 70s and the late 80s, early 90s. We saw these different things kind of come out of those places. The internet, and then Microsoft, and periods of big boom. Perhaps actually that is where we're headed. I think if we can weather this storm and kind of come out on the other side, we might see a lot of really incredible things happen. Maybe even Mark Glorious City. You never know.
Maybe even Mark Laurie could reinvent a city. When I'm looking at, I'll throw out another very well known person in the ecosystem. 2PM. I'm a member of 2PM executive membership. I'm a big fan of it. Webb Smith and his in his brilliant mind, he's created a list that's the digitally native vertical brand, or DTC. Power list, and the DTC power list was just recently updated using some really interesting proprietary data and Charm.io data. When I look at the top 10 of the DTC power list, there are at least 3 brands that I had never even heard of. Pretty Little Thing. Shocking. It's number 4 and in the DTC power list. Doesn't rank on Internet Retailer. It's prettylittlething.us. Had never heard of it before. They're on a custom cart. They have 500 and some employees. They're, there's
Are they on a custom cart though? I think they might be on Magento.
Are they really?
Yeah, I think they're on Magento.
Is that true? Hold on, let me look.
I'm like 90% sure they're on Magento.
If anyone should know, it's me. Hold on.
That's true.
No.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure.
I'm
they might be on Magento 1, actually.
I think they're on Magento 1 open source, actually.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I will ask Webb to update that information. So that's one of them. Another is Moda Operandi, which I'd never heard of. I'm
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's another one. Not in the top 10, but Viore is at number 15. Like, these are brands. Minted at number 14. Just there's so many. And I know that there's a lot. This is not by volume. It's a custom list that's it has its own weighting, and it's one subjective look at how to rank or rate brands by some criteria. But these are brands that have launched in the last handful of years. They're gaining traction. They have hundreds of employees. And I know that hard work, it's like any overnight success does not happen overnight, but they've become household names seemingly out of nowhere. And the tools are at our disposal now to have and create a mark on culture and reach people at scale right now in greater supply and with greater ease and greater access than ever before. And in fact, like, capital access is in greater supply than it has ever been before.
Such a good point.
If you need capital, like, it used to be that you would raise money so that you could build servers, so that you could and hire engineers. You don't need to do much of that anymore. If you have a startup, you can go to AWS or Google, and they will give you like a year's worth of hosting credits for free. And Shopify, you can be up and running, and you don't pay anything until you transact. It's what an incredible time to be alive.
It is. I think this is a great way to sort of take this show out. Like, even though we're experiencing a lot of depression right now, there are a lot of reasons to have hope. There's a lot of things coming, and it does sometimes, as cliche as this is, feel darkest before the dawn. And so I'm feeling it. I am feeling it. I know a lot of people out there are feeling it. There's good things. There are good things coming. So there you go.
Wow. Thanks for listening to Future Commerce. Brian has the last word. We want you to enjoy this show and never miss a single episode of it. But there's so much more than just this show. We put out 2 essays a week. One happens over our newsletter that's called The Senses. It comes out every Friday. Another one happens on our website at futurecommerce.fm. It's called Insiders. You can get both in your inbox on Tuesdays and Fridays every single week. And you can get that by going to futurecommerce.fm/subscribe. And we have another show. Lee Green, our partner in crime and multi-time founder, and now a venture capitalist. Lee is launching a new series called the Investor Series, and we'll be compiling a definitive set of interviews and data around what the capital markets look like right now for founders. And if you don't listen to her podcast, you should. It'll launch very soon. So go to stairwaytoceo.com or futurecommerce.fm/stairwaytoceo. And she has an amazing show over there that is part of the Future Commerce family. And last but not least, go get our newest report. It's called Vision, and you can get it at futurecommerce.fm/vision. And it's 10 trends, 10 themes that you need to know that will shape the future as we know it. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Brian. This has been really fun.
So good.
I miss you.
I know, man. I miss you too, man.
Yeah, let's do the like Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo thing and just like bro out at the end here.
Oh.
Not quite what I expected. All right, that's it.